welcome back to We Talk Talent, our highly popular interview series where we uncover stories, strategies, and solutions driving the future of talent, HR innovations, and leadership. I'm Abhik Roy, Associate Content and Community from ETHRWorld, and it's my pleasure to introduce the guest of our today's episode, Priti Kataria, CHRO from Birlasoft. Hi Preeti, we are so glad to have you here. Welcome to We Talk Talent.
Hey, thanks, Abhik. Thanks for having me here, and I look forward to the conversation too.
Great. Equally looking forward. And I'll start with my first question. Technology is accelerating and reshaping the workplace entirely. So 2026 puts HR at very interesting crossroads. Given that, what will be your top HR priorities for this new year? And are there any HR practices you are leaving behind in 2025?
I think a very valid question. I think something most of the organizations today, I think, are sitting down and consciously articulating. So, first and foremost, I think for me is that as a function, I think it's moving from being a pure enabling on the side rings, to becoming more strategic. And I think I would say a business partner who is walking together step in step in terms of the transformation journey of the organization. Specifically, if I look at our industry, the IT industry, I think the talent is the people. And that's what creates magic, for the customers, for your end customers and for the organization's, ambition of growth. So that's where I think you take center space in terms of articulating what the talent of the future is. So for us, I think it's about two, three things which we have started already in the transformation journey. And by the way, Birlasoft today is on the transformation journey. So in terms of the full capability and capacity which you need for the future, I think articulating that, becoming a lot more consciously technically fluent as HR function. You can no longer say that I'm going to be away from this AI wave or, my work can happen without AI. I'm not saying we swing to the extreme, but I think getting your function ready, to be technically savvy and a lot more AI enabled while being a responsible AI, user, but something you got to get into it. And I think the outcome here is all about employee experience. So right from your onboarding to the first interface a potential candidate can have with the organization to their career movement, to their capability building, to their succession planning. I think all of it today, there is a technical intervention or technology or disruption happening through AI, which we have to embrace. So for me, my mandate to our function to be a really effective business partner is be technologically savvy, be completely embedded in the business context. You can't be away from it because that's what will define the talent agenda, what makes the business ambition align. And last but not the least, be a person who continues to be humane and empathetic while you are doing this whole huge disruption. So the human part of human resources is not something I will say we can stay away from it because I think sometimes we swing to an extreme. So that whole balance at the same time embracing technology.
Great. And any practices you're going to leave behind in 25?
I think this whole thing about intuitive based stuff, getting a lot more
Yeah.
data driven. And there are data lakes, there is availability of data, which is now starting to speak. Otherwise we had things in various islands, right? The whole employee life cycle in terms of pieces of rotation, career enablement, growth. Some of those one-time interventions I don't think will be of value today in the organization, wherein I do some nice to do skilling programs, I do nice to do intervention programs. So you have to really move into a chain which is a continuous journey of evolving your talent chain across the levels in the organization. So that's the second piece. Third, I think, is which connect whatever you are doing as a function to the end organization outcome. So it cannot be that it's a seasonal stuff you do as an HR function. It's the, what I say, keeping the lights on. You have to move away from keeping the lights on. I think in this current era of what is it that you are creating outcomes in the organization's ambition, whether it's could be an inorganic growth, how do you make that happen? Or having a differentiator at the end of the day in terms of an employee experience.
You were talking about how data lakes are now starting to speak, how we are moving from, intuition to more
Yeah.
data driven. And that's my next question. AI is right now moving beyond experimentation and now it's starting to speak, it's going to now make the business impact. We are moving to that phase. Building on that, organizations now need enterprise-wide AI fluency to, make sure that all the AI initiatives do make the business, tangible business outcomes. So, on that, what's your approach to building that kind of, depth of readiness, AI readiness across Buildersoft? What are your strategies there?
So two pieces to it. One is, that acknowledgement that if you are on a transformation journey, this is one piece of transformation where the entire industry, and I think even industry beyond IT is also, wanting to embrace it. So you can't be away from it and you got to do it at speed. So we've probably done it in three parts today, if you ask me. One is the basic foundation of the organization, that foundational literacy or the basic level of technical fluency. That's a mandate. Second is, you have industry segments to which you give solutions. You have verticals in which you are working, whether it is manufacturing, consumer, retail, oil and gas. And of course, you have the technical horizontal, right? Whether the platforms or the cyber or the infra or the cloud. So, how do you ensure that you marry the domain and the practice in that space in which you're offering? So, that goes to the next level of, capability building, wherein you have, agentic AI academies or Gen AI academies for that domain, for that specific customer, proactively preempting what is the direction and they want to steer their business. So you basically taking on the AI journey of your end customer. So whether I'm doing a business in cards and payment or I'm doing a business in oil and gas, what is their need? And how do I get my talent ready in that specific practitioner space? And last but not the least is also about functional mastery. Because today, all the functions inside the organization are also a use case for the outside customer segment. Telling everybody else that you have AI in HR or in finance or everywhere else. How are you driving it in your organization to first go and then start selling outside? So I think we've also given a mandate to every function today to have an MVP as to where is their disruptive ambition and aspiration. And you define that. Like today, in my own team, everybody, whether it is CNP, shared services, hiring, learning and development, as simple as even ESG, I think we've given them figure out a place where you can do a disruption. And that is where I think we are now starting to inject agentic AI in functions also. It has started as a mandate, let me be honest, because you need to embrace, basic awareness. But now what has happened is first we push the people. Now people have got passionate about it. So now they're grappling with it, dabbling with it, figuring out of creating agents here and there. And maybe that's caught on to the others who feel, okay, listen, I need to also catch up speed. And I just see it spreading like a good infection to have and good energy to have in the organization.
That's a great roadmap. So, Preeti, you were also mentioning about employee experience in your first response, how that's
Yeah.
the end goal, to make it more intelligent, more, seamless for the employees. So,
Yeah.
talent intelligence is, emerging as a key capability there. It's really changing what HR can do for, employees. So,
Correct.
building on that, how are you leveraging it at Birlasoft? How are you putting it at work at Birlasoft? And, any tangible outcomes you have seen so far, any impact it has made?
First is very basic, about predictive talent analytics, right? Which helps me predict that, what are the chances that a person X or a person Y could quit or is in the zone which I need to proactively engage. So this whole piece of reactive engagement when somebody resigns or is somebody put in the papers vis-a-vis proactively engaging with a person because you're getting some signals that this person could be on the edge. We've just gone live with it yesterday, and I know a lot of people are doing work, across the industry today on this predictive, proactive engagement, to address attrition issues. That's one big piece. The uniqueness here is, it's built on almost 50 odd scenarios which we could actually visualize basis we spoke to business people who were exiting, who've been in the system, and of course got our technology team, to give the backend and the platform to it, so that today it is actually picking up data from almost 6 7 systems in the organization. The second one is more linked to my career, my skilling, my competency, my rotation, and of course my promotion. So we have a skill folio which actually maps what my current skill is, what my level is. I have three I endorsement there: self endorsement, manager endorsement, and then there is a third party endorsement which happens on it. And then it actually goes and speaks to my learning system, maps the resources which I should pick up because maybe my proficiency level is X, I need to be X plus Y or X plus delta X. So it maps those courses. Similarly, it also maps to the open positions in the organization where talent mobility is needed. That okay, fine, Preeti is almost about doing her tenure here. She has this skill, and here is an opportunity coming, and maybe she could be channelized there. That role, if it is the next level, also sets me up as a potential case for promotion. And I think the third one, if you ask me, which is again in a very, very initial stages of maturity, is all about various intelligent agents, which help you navigate the ecosystem in the organization beyond just helping you with a policy query, but actually preempting two more questions and answering them, nudging you, whether you need to apply leave because maybe it's likely to lapse, or how do you really, project yourself in terms of your performance, highlights. I think that's a start we have made. I don't think we're fully there, but the other two pieces I'm pretty proud of. I think as an organization, we've probably embarked on it. And these, I think, are at the end of the day, if I look at some data, if my 48% of my fulfillment at certain and above leadership level has been internal, I think just speaks volumes of having access to information rather than sitting in islands and helping people have very objective conversations than perception driven conversations. So that's succession planning. If that's where we yield end of the day for roles, if I get people inside this ecosystem, it sends two signals to people. One, I can grow in this organization. I don't have to keep buying talent from outside. I'm going to build talent. And third is that, the belief in the organization that I'm 70% ready, go ahead, take a shot at it, and, we'll back you up as, the larger ecosystem. I think is the larger agenda one is trying to drive.
That sounds a great start. Thank you for sharing, with us. So, my next question is, clearly, a lot of changes are happening and they all are happening very fast. Amidst all this, organizational resilience and agility is very critical. And resilience depends on a strong talent pipeline, as you said. In IT industry also, talent is the people, and they are the main asset. So, what strategies are you leveraging, to sustain a strong, healthy talent pipeline, both for immediate needs as well as for your long-term talent goals?
So I think the idea is to have more and more internal growth, people who are meritorious, people who spend time, and make it more visible for people to apply for opportunities. The entire talent marketplace of being out there, latching onto it, getting evaluated like any other profile, and being ready there and taking up the role. So that is one. Similarly, at the bottom of the pyramid, you also need talent which doesn't use your organization as a learning platform for 2 years and move on. So you want to also lock in talent for a couple of years. So we are consciously embarking on a journey wherein you are actually taking people from the college. It's just about a start, and also having them study while they work with us. So it could be a BSc graduate who pursues their MS from some of the tier one colleges over a period of 3 to 4 years, and also work with us. So, and that's an exclusive tie-up you have with certain named universities wherein, people pursue, they get a degree from a tier one institute. They are also working here. So, and this is sponsored by the organization. And you lock in the talent for 3 to 4 years. Vis-a-vis, people moving on at that level in, you know, 2 to 3 years, that churn is very high. So you also want to arrest that churn. And I think if you've been able to arrest people for 4 years in terms of both enabling them of capability building as well as giving them really rich projects, I think if they've experienced their first career growth inside your organization, they probably stick on for long.
Great. You were mentioning about diverse talent, new talent. What's your take on Gen Zs? Like now that they are a bit old now in the workforce, how do you
Not
see
really old, actually. I have one at home myself
it?
who keeps a check on me in terms of how I conduct myself. So I think that's a bunch. Maybe some of us are lucky today to have them at home, probably seeing them grow and growing yourself with them. So like my daughter tells me, like, I have brought you up as a parent for 23 years, 24 years. And, so the moment I'm also evolving as a parent, and she's also evolving as a Gen Z. What I have noticed, and it's not just experience at home, but also experience at work, I think this is a very, very multitasking generation, who are very clear of what they want. I think for them to walk away from something which is not aligned to the larger purpose, value dissonance is there. I haven't seen them succumb to something and just take it on just for the sake of it. But when they get into something, I have also seen them deliver with amazing passion and ownership. So we may be thinking, they are having a mobile in the hand, a laptop in the front, and a headphone also on. But trust me, I have seen them, a lot more agile, a lot more adaptable, and a lot more, what should I say, inclusive generation. I think they've also kept check on us, not getting carried away by our unconscious biases. At least I have experienced that at home. And because of that experience at home, I'm a lot more conscious when I interact with people at work.
Wonderful, wonderful. Thank you so much, Preeti. You know, all this conversation leads to a conclusion that, workforce priorities are evolving, a lot is changing, and, what
Yeah,
employees prioritize or they look forward to at their workplace is changing. So definitely, the definition of culture is also changing as a result.
correct.
In your experience, what will be the new tenets of this, new organizational culture, and, how are you planning to, bring that vision to reality at Birlasoft?
Very good question. I think I'm also on a journey of my own culturization as well as, working with the leaders. It's been good 10 plus months now. What I've realized is some basic values always help, irrespective of whichever, stage of the organization or life you are. I think people will always have admiration for an organization or an employer who is authentic. In the changing ways of working, flexibility is a given, and with that flexibility, I think what I keep telling managers and myself and everybody else is a lot more trusting as an organization. So are you an enabling organization? Are you a trusting organization? Are you being empathetic? Are you technically savvy? At the same time, coming out very consciously from the old ways of working, which COVID-19 has broken a lot of myths, right? And still be on that journey that, okay, fine, I can also learn from the other person who is multiple levels below me. So for me, authenticity, psychological safety, I think mental well being are things we are needing to get these conversations on the tables. Those habits, those practices, those day to day gestures all define culture. And for people even here or in any organization, they are not experiencing a Preeti per se. They are experiencing HR of Birlasoft through Preeti. So, you are just a person who's a custodian of the culture, right? So, what you exhibit, what you say no to it, what you pick up a cause and fight for from an organization perspective, from an employee advocacy perspective, I think sets the nuances for the culture. And then it has to be repetitive. People have to experience it not because I do it, but because anybody they bump into in the HR function conducts themselves in a similar way as far as that employee is concerned. Then it becomes the HR ways of working or the Birlasoft culture or the XY organization culture. So I think the other big piece I'm realizing now at across levels as a culture will be how learnability as a tenet is being inducted or embedded into the organization because there is so much of disruption happening that is it very intrinsic to you in your way-to-day working that listen, this was relevant yesterday, not relevant today, and we have to let go. So the question you asked, what are things you're letting go? I think that whole speed of embracing and letting go is also going to be very important.
Yeah. Thank you, Preeti. I think this has been a very rich conversation for me. Thank you so much for taking out the time and joining
Not
us
at all.
on great, joining us on We Talk Talent. And I'm sure the HR community is going to lean on all the insights that you just shared for the entire year. It's totally a great conversation. Thank you for that. Thank you for joining us.